Well, good morning to all. This is Marvin Newhart again with another exciting video, Stats Video 07. And I wanted to visit with you about a couple of things. This is great. This is great. We are about 25% or a fourth of the way through this course. And I checked the grade book. And we are running in this stats course, and I think that this is a tribute to each and every one of you, but we are in this stat course, and our grade is an A average. This is a stat course with an A average. You folks are doing a tremendous job, and I want to thank you. We have a communication aspect in here. I will be putting material on announcements. I will be putting material in chat room. I will be putting material in forums and assignments. So as we go through this, remember we are 25% of the way through, and you folks have an A. This is great. And I want to thank you for the work that you have done in this course, and I want to thank you for your responses. There's a couple of things we want to look at in this course concerning some of your assignments and some of the rules and so forth, and empirical rule. I want to talk about the empirical rule, which we will. But one of the first things, as far as, I need a sheet of paper here that I did not get, and I will get now. Well, I guess I can go ahead and just tell you about it. As we go through this, one thing that I wanted to emphasize is the communication. We do need communication in this course. If you have a concern, I feel as though that you should voice that concern. And if you're doing well and you feel comfortable, voice that. And if for some reason you are not and you need some help, voice that. But we are really doing a fine job. And like I say, maybe not we, but you folks are doing a terrific job. One of the things that we want to look at right now is measures of variability, which we have talked about. And this is a population and a sample. Now you will read about a population in your text on pages 47 through 48. And you will read about a sample on pages 48 through 50. Now, measures connected with a population are called a parameter. And there's a population operation. You will notice the N. The N. It's just an N. That's the number of data that you have. And when we go to a sample statistic, we're taking a sample out of this, and I want to talk to you a little bit about a sample. Let's say that I go to Safeway, which I do. I'm not advertising for Safeway or anything like that. But I look at their various salads. They have a whole bowl of salad there. That is a population. And I will ask them for a sample. Now, they have these little plastic spoons that they go ahead and take a little bit of that salad out, and that is a sample. It is not the whole thing. I do not eat the whole bowl. That is just a sample. Now, these samples can vary. I think about seafood salad. They could possibly put the spoon in and pull up a sample of just shrimp and crab meat, nothing else. That would be a sample. They could also probably put in the spoon and pull up with a spoonful of just lettuce with no meat in it, with no shrimp, or crab meat in it. Now, these two samples can vary. And that is one of the things that we are going to be looking at, stats. So, a population is the whole of whatever we are studying. If we are measuring the height of 20 trees, that would be our population. If we would select the height of 3 or 4 trees out of that 20, that would be the sample. Now, the sample has n minus 1. So if we have 5 sets of data, 5 scores, we would use, for a population, we would use all 5. If we would take it for a sample, we would have n minus 1, which would be, if we had 5 sets of data, n minus 1 would be 5 minus 1, so that would be 4. And that is called degrees of freedom. It allows for a possible error. Now, there's one other aspect that I want to look at in this here for you. And as we go through that, I want to look at the empirical rule. Now, we've talked about the empirical rule. The empirical rule is in your text. And so we want to visit about that just a little bit. In this, we have, this is the empirical rule, we have a normal curve here. And it says 34% below the mean on the first standard deviation and 34% above the mean. And then that there is 68%. Now, I'm just reviewing this with you. And then if we go out here to the second standard deviation below the mean and the second standard deviation above the mean, in here we would have about 95%. And if we would go out the third standard deviation below the mean and the third standard deviation above the mean, we have roughly 99%. Now, if we take the whole thing, of course, this is 100%. So when you write the empirical rule, it is 1 standard deviation below the mean and above the mean. It is a total of 2 standard deviations. If you would write it at the 95% level, it would be 2 standard deviations below the mean and 2 standard deviations above the mean. I hope that as we go through this, that you will remember that it is not 1 standard deviation from the mean, but it is 1 standard deviation below the mean and 1 standard deviation above the mean. We have to include those 2 standard deviations. So I wanted to clarify that on the empirical rule, and you had an example where we will be visiting more about that. I'm signing off of this video now. Again, thank you for your good work. It is appreciated. And until video 8, we'll be seeing you. Goodbye.